from night 2 action. Michael Lodra kept his kid on and beat Ryan Harrison in that third set super tiebreaker.
It was a good match, this one, actually. We mentioned that Lodra has been the form player throughout the tournament so far of the current players, but this is what we saw plenty of throughout the course of the evening. A lot of serve and volley tennis. The courts here at Adelaide, they are taking slice, they are staying low. If you want to play attacking tennis, you are rewarded, and both players were willing to do that, and we saw what I thought was so far the match of the event. Definitely both men in good form, and they took it very seriously. Ryan Harrison is a very competitive young man, and he's a man going places. It was a high-quality match.
You speak of taking it seriously. The poor old chair umpire copped a bit because he wasn't overruling what were perceived to be wrong calls from the Lions people. Tough job, I know, and the court is very quick, so hard to make a judgment in a snap second.
It's a thankless task, isn't it? I mean, both players, they tended to get on the umpire a little bit, but, you know, they wanted the umpire to overrule, but that's a tough thing for him to do under a big situation, 5,000 people watching. He definitely needed a bit more help from his linesman, but look, the players did it with a certain amount of sportsmanship. They didn't get too carried away. Just have a look at this shot from Ryan Harrison. He's very quick. He's got good athleticism to go with his skill. So he's very much the complete player at only 18 years of age.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's ranked 173 or thereabouts at the moment, but that's only going in one direction, you would think, against Michael Lodra, who had a career year last year. 30 years of age as well. An interesting time to do that, but won 2 titles in Eastbourne and also Marseille. But yeah, Ryan Harrison, who qualified for the Australian Open thanks to the US Open qualifying, the reciprocal deal we have. We give them a wild card, they give us a wild card for the US Open. He got through in their wild card playoff, so he beat some similar type players in the States, so we'll see him in Melbourne at the Australian Open. Marinko Matosevic, he did the Australian version of that, and he's had a really good week. He
really has, and what a benefit. I mean, obviously getting through that wild card playoff in December has given him a guaranteed berth into the Australian Open. That freed him up to get a late call-up due to the withdrawal of Nishikori into this event, and he has just handled himself so well. He beat Ryan Harrison on the first night, and he took care of Ivan Ljubicic, who's the number 17 player in the world. So this is a significant win. Although it's not on an ATP event proper, it does your confidence no harm at all on the eve of the Australian Open to beat someone of this caliber. And I'm very impressed with Matosevic. He's got a mature game. He's very powerful. He's really quick for a big man. He covers a lot of court, and he seems to understand how to play the game. He knows when to attack. He's willing to defend. This is one of the better points of the night. It was Ljubicic pretty much controlling proceedings. Matosevic was just reacting to what was being thrown at him. And you can see here, this is what I'm talking about, the skill and the improvisation to defend. It's so important in the modern game, and he had the ability to turn defense into attack. You can see it's a fine rally. Matosevic is really at 6s and 7s, but he has the poise to play that shot at end range, and that was a fairly significant point in the match. Big first serve to finish it off, and he's pleased, and he should be, because this was a significant win for him, and that's another reason to be pleased. That's his girlfriend.
We're pleased, and yeah, he made the right decision as well to stick around in Adelaide, despite the fact that Kei Nishikori has subbed in tonight for him. It rained all day in Melbourne, so he wouldn't have got on a court, and he was hitting up here before, so at least he got out onto the court to keep his preparations going for the Australian Open. Pat Cash beat Ivan Lendl in the rematch of the 1987 Wimbledon final, amongst other meetings these two gentlemen had in the late 80s on tour.
Well, Cashy would have enjoyed the conditions here at Memorial Drive. It takes slice. You can see him getting to the net. You can just see how low the slice backhand and how low the volley stayed. That makes it very tough to pass. We know how well Cashy covers the net. So it was a tough conditions for Ivan. We mentioned that he hadn't played any real tennis for about 14 or 15 years. He got himself back in shape. That's a bit of the Lendl of old, ducking into the backhand corner and controlling the court with his forehand. But Lendl is playing well, but I think the conditions suited Cash, and Cash served particularly well. He was up around 70% last night, and he jammed Lendl on quite a few occasions, not that one, but he did play very well. Pat played a little better than he did the first night against John McEnroe.
Yeah, his first serve percentage was up, as you mentioned, at 70%, and of those times he got it in, I think he won 92% of points, so you don't lose too many tennis matches when that particular statistic is in your favour. But Ivan Lendl tried to the end, but yeah, Pat found his range. He led 3-love against McEnroe the night before, let it slip a little as the American took over, but he didn't let it slip on this occasion. There were some great rallies from side to side, but Cash got it done and celebrated with a curry at about 1 AM last night.
Yeah, as
and
you do.
A few beers.
As you do.
Exactly. So a good result for Pat Cash. He'll be first up when the rain does clear tonight on court 2 against Henri Leconte on court 2. Speaking of Henri Leconte, against John McEnroe, the most diametrically opposed personalities you could ever imagine on a tennis court. McEnroe, though, too good, 8-5.
They may be opposed in terms of their personalities, but they are both extremely talented lefties. But it's surprising, and you mentioned it on our coverage last night, in the Pro Tour, I think it was McEnroe 10, Leconte 0.
Yes.
I would have thought Henri had a dangerous enough game to trouble John McEnroe, but it just doesn't appear to be the case, and last night was no different. McEnroe, he was pretty content to play at the back of the court. He felt like he had Leconte handled in that department. And then, of course, John's serve volley game made him extremely tough to break. But John has come to this event. He played a couple of matches in Hong Kong prior. That's Leconte at his absolute flamboyant best. But he played a couple of matches in Hong Kong prior to coming down to Adelaide. And it really showed. He's come off the plane extremely sharp, and he's been in superb form throughout.
And he's got a massive match coming up. They're himself and Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras are going to Madison Square Garden at the end of February for a huge event. I heard today that I think the 300 tickets at $1,000 a pop. The premium tickets sold out in about 2 minutes flat.
Yeah, I think it's a sellout. There's some pretty stellar names there that you just mentioned.
Exactly. The doubles, and this is where it got particularly silly.
Got weird, didn't it?
It got weird in the in the words of Dr. Evil.
Well, yeah.
It got weird.
It was, once again, it was a match played with a little bit of intensity because McEnroe does not like to lose, and I think he's enjoying playing doubles with young Ryan Harrison, who's a pretty handy doubles player himself. Mac, in my opinion, the best doubles player I've seen in the modern era. That's just giving Lodra a little bit of a serve. Lodra was getting into his kitchen earlier in the match.
It was all good fun.
It was all in good jest, but there's McEnroe again, just letting Lodra know who's the man.
We had the mic on Ryan Harrison as well, and this is where it got weird, and we're going to show it in its entirety soon. But Henri lowered his shorts by about 1 inch, and that's where it all kicked off, and it ended up with
Lodra's got no shorts at this point.
With nothing on. Here it is.
Fortunately, Henri had not gone commando.
And noticing this in the stadium tonight. It's on the big screen as we speak.
It's getting weirder.
It's getting weirder.
Getting weirder.
Thankfully, it didn't get as weird as it could. Thankfully,
so
there was some mercy in it.
Ryan Harrison has no shoes, so he has darted to the net, served and volleyed without shoes. McEnroe no top, Henri no pants, and Lodra no nothing. Just kept his jocks on, thankfully. He looks pretty buff there, Mikhail, doesn't he?
Oh, well, if you got it.
Exactly.
And on court 2, it was kind of the sideshow, unfortunately, but there was plenty of action on court 2 as well. Bahrami and Ljubicic playing Cash and Matosevic. They took it 6-5, and Mansour, warming up, had all the tricks going as usual.
Well, he's a hard man to play, Mansour, isn't he? Because he turns it into a show, and the show is about him, but he's got plenty of tricks, and he executes unbelievably. He really has it down pat. Moves incredibly well, Mansour Bahrami, for a man of his age, and this sort of shot for him is like shelling peas. Just have a look at that. Makes that shot consistently with his back to the net, just hitting it between his legs, the tweener, as the Americans would say. You hate that word, don't you?
Oh, it sounds like something that follows the Jonas Brothers, don't it?
So it was a very entertaining doubles, no doubt about that. Matosevic played his part, doing the right thing, putting the ball in the right spot for Mansour to do his thing. Ljubicic, well, he's just along for the ride, isn't he?
Exactly.
It's the Mansour Bahrami show.
Yeah, Mansour subbing in 5 and Lendl in 2 of the night's doubles matches, so Lendl can save himself for the singles, and he's done it again tonight.